Hello everyone, how are you doing today? In this video, I want to talk a bit about the current state of the United States and just where we are as a country. And if you're an American citizen, I hope you really listen to this video because it's really going to inform you about what's going on, or it should at least attune you to what is happening in your own country. First of all, if you are an American citizen, you're probably very pissed off in the current era, which is completely justified. We'll go through why. But this country right now is a complete mess, and everyone needs to stop pretending like it's in a good state. Of course, we all love this country, we want it to become better, but it's in complete ruin right now. Everything is just completely falling apart. Our government is completely non-functional. All the politicians are bought and paid for. None of them actually do the will of the people. All of our money goes towards useless shit. It's either corruption or it goes to foreign interest or it simply just gets wasted and doesn't go towards anything we actually need as a country. In terms of the economy, our leaders don't seem to do anything about it. Housing is completely unaffordable. Jobs for citizens are just completely unavailable. We import foreign workers. We import foreign workers for low wage work. Even for high wage work, we have the H-1B visa to bring immigrants here to do the work for us. So there's no jobs left for the American people. And even if you do get a job, the price of everything is sky high. Groceries are sky high. The cost of housing is sky high. And housing is completely sky high if you can even afford it, because most people are just renting in this country. And we're getting to a point where people are just being squeezed from all ends. Most Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Most of them can't cover a $400 expense if they had to. And I think people, they feel like they're crazy for bringing up these topics when in their own country things are just crap. Like they look around, their infrastructure is crumbling, the demographics are shifting intentionally and rapidly. People around them don't even speak English anymore. The economy is garbage. They can't find a job. Everything's extremely expensive. They're taxed. Everything is completely taxed. They take 30, 40% of your income and then it gets wasted and you never see any of it back. And then the tax money that does go to something useful, like the military, gets wasted for foreign interests, for things that aren't in our interest as the American people. And our culture is completely collapsing too, due to many forces like, you know, social media and feminism and Marxism and the hatred of our own civilization and just the destruction of the family and all these things. And Americans look around and they feel confused because they're told they're living in the best country to ever exist, which is true to an extent. But for the ordinary American, it doesn't feel like the country is really working for them anymore. They feel just an outrage, and rightfully so, because the entire system's just been completely rigged against them. And it's time for us to name this accurately. It's time for us to stop dancing around this issue as if it isn't real. So, what exactly should the American people do, or what can we do? First of all, we need to stop falling into apathy. We need to stop numbing ourselves because there's two kind of killers that's happening right now in the American system. Is one is complete apathy. People look at the political system, they look at voting, they look at just culture in general, and they just give up because they feel like there's nothing they can do to change anything. They look at the forces of, say, social media, the giant tech companies, and the algorithms, and they say, well, I can never go up against that. And they look at the dating market and how broken everything is, and they say, well, I'm never going to change that. They look at politics and how the elections are kind of just rigged, and they say, well, I'm never going to be able to change that. And we get to this point where we just stop caring as a people. We just go, fuck it, we don't care. So we need to stop falling into this trap of apathy. We need to understand that ultimately what the elites fear more than anything is a complete uprising. They fear the people. The reason they try to sedate us and get us to fall into apathy and to get us to just give up and let them do whatever they want is because they know that if we all collectively show strength and try to enforce our will on our leaders, that it will work. If you look through history, there's numerous accounts of popular uprisings that lead to complete overhauls in the governments that were ruling them. So we do have power. We can change things. Things are not completely hopeless when it comes to changing our government. In fact, it's even in the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson wrote that when a government no longer serves its people anymore, when it's no longer serving their interest, it's not a just constitution, and it's the moral will of the people to change it, to swap out the government for a new one that will actually serve their interest. Because in a republic, or at least we live in a republic, we tell ourselves The power and the authority and the responsibility ultimately lies with the people. And in fact, that's what the word republic means. It comes from the Latin res publica, which means the public thing, which means we own it. It's our country. It's not the elite's country. It's our country, the people. The elites are beholden to us, the people. So we do have power over this system, as little as it might seem. We need to not fall into this trap of apathy. And the other trap that we're falling into right now is just numbing agents and just numbness and kind of just stimulation. We're falling into this sort of the bread and circuses of Rome, where they just kind of put on these games and fed the people bread and just kind of just let them, entertain themselves or kind of just distracted them from what's going on in their own country. We're kind of falling into that right now. You see with things like sports and sports betting and OnlyFans and dating apps and porn and just social media and just video games in general. And there's nothing wrong with leisure when leisure is in its proper place in society. But we're getting to this point where we're using these activities as just ways to numb ourselves out of the political system and to just kind of ignore the despair that's going on around us. And the elites love this because they don't want the people to be paying attention. They don't want them to say, "Oh, what the fuck's going on in my country? Let me change things." So that's what needs to happen. We need to believe that we still have power because we do. It's not an illusion. We do have power over the system. We need to stop numbing ourselves and overstimulating ourselves with all of the bullshit in society, all the distractions, just endless sports and endless porn and endless video games and all this stuff. And then we need to start collectively taking action towards our governments. We need to stop just talking about things that are happening, to actually band together and start demanding more of our government. Or not even just demanding more. The system needs just a complete overhaul. The whole thing's just kind of rotten to the core. So we really need to change things. And especially, the, we need to shift towards this idea of America first. We need to stop advocating for other countries. We need to stop doing things for other countries. We can't keep sending all of our money overseas to fight wars that have nothing to do with the American people. We have to shift back to this idea that our main goal as the United States is to create a country and an economy and just a social environment in which the American family, the American individual can thrive. And pretty much nothing we're doing right now is promoting that. We need policies that focus on housing, getting people into houses, and hopefully having those houses paid off by the time they're in their 30s or early 30s, mid 30s. Policies that help people have children, policies that help people find good paying jobs, policies that bring local businesses and local industry back and stop gutting out the interior of the country. We need to shift away from just a purely service based economy and we need to go back to actually making things again because that is what made such a strong middle class in America for other times. And we need to just get rid of the corruption in just all levels of government, where and just the fraud and just the deep like rot in everything. See what we see what went on in Minnesota with the Somali fraud, and we're seeing what's happening in California with their fraud, and it just when the Doge team was doing their thing in the government, they found all of the fraud in the social security system and just the waste. It's both. It's fraud. It's corruption. It's waste. It's everything in our government. It's completely overrun with all these issues that need to be completely gutted out. And we need to stop bringing in so many illegal immigrants to this country because they're taking everything from the American people. They're taking land, they're taking housing, they're taking, they're driving up prices, they're taking social programs, they're taking jobs. These things that we should be prioritizing the American people. People need to realize we're not the leaders of the world. We're not the president is not the president of the world. We don't live to serve humanity. We as a country are here to serve Americans, American citizens, the American people, and our country. That's what every country in the world does. China is China first, India is India first, Mexico is Mexico first, and America needs to be America first. We need to stop having this idea that we need to help everybody or that we're morally obligated to help every other country and every other people in the world. We have our own issues. We have massive issues. I mean, even take our debt for example. We spend over a trillion. We spend $1 trillion just paying interest on our loan, on our federal, deficit that we already have going. We can't afford to be spending money on any foreign country. We have our own problems. We have education to fix. We have infrastructure to fix. We have to pay down the debt. We have other government programs to fund. We have law enforcement. We need to fund, our own military to keep ourselves safe. We can't afford to be sending, and we need to stop having economic policies that shift all the wealth upward to just either the, the business owners, the giant corporations, and foreigners. So like, we see this right now with AI data centers, where we're giving hundreds of billions of dollars to these companies to build these AI data centers. And you know who this is really going to enrich? It's not enriching the American people. It's enriching one companies who get all this money to build these AI data centers. And it's benefiting foreigners because the people who are going to work there are going to be H-1B visa workers. And they're going to deplete resources from the local people. They're going to deplete houses. They're already depleting water. We already see that happening. They're already taking water from the local community. They're stressing the power grid. We don't have the grid to support these data centers. These centers are only going to enrich a couple of like a small piece of Americans. Our economic policy needs to shift back towards, does this help the American family, the American nuclear family? The answer is no. We need to change the policy or just get rid of it entirely. And that's really the direction the America needs to go in. We need to stop being a corporate state, essentially. We need to stop just being controlled by the wealthy class, the billionaire class, the corporations. It's, we need to absolutely fix the morality and the social order in this country. Right now, we are a faithless people. We've lost Christianity. We have lost any kind of morality, even secular morality. We don't even have a philosophical secular morality in the country anymore. Hookup culture is completely, just rampant in the country. The family has been destroyed. People aren't getting married. Men and women hate each other. So we need to repair the morals of this country. That ultimately the foundation of the country is the people and the families. So if you destroy the family, you destroy the civilization. It's as simple as that. So we need to r revive these beliefs and institutions that once made people proud to be in their civilization. And not only were they proud to be in their civilization, the civilization was functional because people wanted to participate in it. There was local communities, people had a morality, there was a high trust in society. People were hopeful for the future. They had land, they had family, they had children that they could pass wealth on to. We need to foster a country where people want to think beyond just themselves. We want people thinking in multiple generations. We want people thinking in decades, in generations, in centuries, not just, the next week or the next time they have to pay rent. And we need to stop being afraid of law enforcement. We see this all the time with whether it's the National Guard getting deployed or ICE agents doing what they have to do to get rid of illegal immigrants. We're so afraid as Americans of law enforcement and things that quote unquote take away your freedom, even though they're just enforcing the law. We need to understand that law enforcement is a duty. Not only a duty, it's the primary duty of the government. The government's primary duty is to enforce justice and keep the populace safe. That's what law is. It creates laws and it enforces laws. It upholds justice and protects the populace from both domestic and foreign threats. That's what the role of any government is. And right now, people across the country, like in Minneapolis, are stopping the government from fulfilling their fundamental duty to protect the people and uphold justice. And so we need to understand that law enforcement is a legitimate act of the government. We need to not stop government from, and we need to not just be afraid of order anymore. As a society, we've gotten so comfortable with just chaos. People need to realize that freedom does not mean chaos. Freedom doesn't mean just doing whatever you want. Freedom means the ability to govern yourself. It means the ability to live in a society that will respect things like your ability to own property and have a family and to govern yourself and make free choices in the proper way. Freedom doesn't mean anarchy. Freedom doesn't mean doing whatever you want, which is why freedom must be coupled with virtue. It must be coupled with cultural movements like family and faith. It must be coupled with order, like strong law enforcement and strong borders and a strong military. These are all things we need to revive again. And I think all of this will only happen when the people start respecting themselves again. We need to get to a point where the people are no longer willing to put up with this. We're no longer willing to just sit here and be stimulated and entertained. We're not just going to eat the bread and watch the circuses. We're not, Roman plebeians. We're not just going to accept what's happening. We're going to take ownership of this country because it is ultimately ours at the end of the day. The republic belongs to the people, and we need to actually stand up and make change in this country. We need to reject the porn. We need to reject the video games. We need to reject everything that is making people just passive and, useless and impotent. People need to get their vitality back, especially men. This applies mostly to men, I would say. But we need to get this urge to change things again, get this urge to see injustice, to feel anger, and then to act because of that anger. People say that acting on anger is a bad thing. It's uncontrolled anger is a bad thing, but acting on anger is just a signal that something is wrong, that there's some injustice occurring. So we need to get back to this point as men and just as people in general that we're not just going to passively sit around and wait for the government to do the right thing because they won't. We need to advocate for it. We need to take action. I do ultimately have hope for the United States. I don't think the Republic is completely lost. Some people have kind of this doomer attitude where, the Republic is gone, the Empire is here, everything is just fucked. We're just gonna focus on ourselves. I don't think things are completely lost yet. Things are in a really bad state. Things are definitely in a winter. We're definitely in a winter period in our state, but things are not completely lost. And like I said before, we can't fall into this trap of apathy. We can't just accept that things are dead because once we do that, then there's no changing it. Even if there's a small chance of success right now, if we just accept defeat now, we'll never even try to get that small chance. We need to accept that things are really bad, but that we're going to do something about it. And so, for everyone watching this video, I want you to just take the next day or couple of days or weeks to just look around at what's going on in the United States. Take a look at the housing market. Take a look at how expensive property is. Take a look at how many taxes you pay on just everything, how many fees the government charges you. Um, Look at how the government treats you in terms of the laws it passes and the things it expects of you, and then look at what you get in return. Where does your tax money go? Does it actually go to you as a citizen? Does it actually help you? Do your cities feel safe? Do you feel like there's law and order? Do you feel like you have some kind of kinship and some kind of connection with your neighbors, or does everything just feel foreign and just untrustworthy? Do you feel like you have trust with your neighbors, or do you feel like everything's just hostile? Do you feel like you can actually raise a family? Can you feel like you actually can meet a wife or a husband? Can you feel like there's anything actually going on in the country that you can wake up and be excited about? Because if you aren't someone who's ever thought about these things before, you need to really kind of wake up and just look around and see what's happening and just ask yourself, like, is this actually good? Because you might have gotten to the point where things feel completely normal because this is just what you're used to, when in reality it's not. This is the richest country to ever live. This is the richest, most powerful country to ever live. But that doesn't mean it's currently the best. Best would mean that you actually have a future here, that you actually have a share in that wealth and power, that you can actually own land and start a family, and that you can reasonably expect that your government's going to act in a way that aligns with justice. None of those. We're in a state where people have just completely lost any faith in their government to do the right thing at all, or to uphold their values. So I encourage you to look around, see what's happening, take note of all the shitty things that are going on in the country, talk about it with your friends and family openly. Don't be shy about these things. So this is another thing we need to stop pretending like some topics are too controversial or too hot to talk about. We need to be willing to talk about everything, speak honestly about what's going on in the country, and we need to start figuring out ways to take action. And that could be petitions, it could be protests, could be other forms that force the government to act and to change. Because if we don't, things are just going to get worse. The government's not going to magically just get better. American society, the Western world, is not just going to magically heal itself. It's only going to fix itself if the Western people and the American people want things to get better. And part of that is going to be facing the government. It could be facing the wrath of the government because the government doesn't want things to change. The elites like being elites. They don't like being beholden to the people, but they are, and they have to respect our will because they're the ones that they ultimately represent us. The power ultimately is held by us, and the elites do fear the people. If you look at any society, they've always taken measures to sedate the people and to stop them from performing an uprising, to stop them from pushing back. It's because if the people realize how much power they have, things will change and the elites won't have their influence anymore. They'll actually have to implement good policy changes. So that's it for this video. I just wanted people to think about the current state of America. Think about how terrible things are. Don't hide your anger. Don't pretend like it's not there. Openly talk about these things with the people around you. And hopefully, if enough of us feel this way and we actually take action, we can maybe change American society and the American government for better. All right. Hope you guys have